On today's video, I'll be reflecting on Anna Kasparian, an interview that she's having with Piers Morgan, and how she reflects about the loss from the Democratic Party, and also a few dark things, how she reflected on voters in the past, and how her position has changed as of recent, which personally I relate significantly to it because I kind of felt the same way what you call Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, I had that.
Well, now for a view from the opposite side of the aisle, but maybe not as opposite as you may think. Anna Kasparian is a progressive journalist and commentator, best known for her work alongside my old friend Cenk Uygur and liberal network The Young Turks. She has some strident views on where it all went wrong for the Democrats in this election, and she's faced an avalanche of personal attacks from liberal followers for denouncing President Biden, Gavin Newsom, and wokeism, among other Democratic deities. So has Anna Kasparian left the left? Let's find out. She joins me now. Anna, welcome to your uncensored debut.
Thank you for having me, Piers.
We tried to lure you on many times, but you haven't taken the Cenk route of coming on just to shout at me, but it's good to have you finally. And we'll get to Cenk later, don't worry.
Thank you.
I just want to talk to you. So
well, you need to give me one promise.
Go on.
You have to give me one promise that you guys aren't going to do me dirty in the thumbnail for this video. You promise?
You know what? I can't promise because we've done some corkers recently, particularly involving Cenk. But as he knows better than anybody, a great thumbnail drives more traffic. And that's the game we're in. We want people to watch what we're doing.
True.
Otherwise, what's the point? So we are very proud of our thumbnail.
I mean, if I look
record.
attractive, that might actually draw some more eyebrows. So think about it.
Wow, you're playing that card. Well, I admire it. Listen, to be serious, you've made a bit of news recently. We've got a little shot to start with of your reaction to when Trump won in 2016.
I have no respect for women who voted for Trump. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
I think so poorly of them, and the reason why is because, look, I don't think that you're a single issue voter. I just think you're dumb, okay? I think you're fucking dumb. When you vote for someone who openly treats women like second-class citizens, who talks about them as if they're nothing more than a piece of meat, who has been accused of sexually assaulting them, who has been caught on tape talking about groping them and grabbing them by the pussy without consent, yeah, you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
So, Anna, have you moderated your view of Trump voters this time around?
To say the least. That video I am not proud of, I will say that. And, you know, I had a very emotional reaction to news that Trump won in 2016. I was totally blindsided by it. And to be quite frank, I think that attacking voters is one of the worst things you can do. These are our fellow Americans, regardless of who they vote for, what they think. In order for this great experiment in America to work, we have to respect each other. And so that was 8 years ago. I'd like to think that I've matured since then, and I hope that I can prove that maturity through the work that I do today.
So definitely the reaction that Anna Kasparian is having, I can definitely relate because that's pretty much how I saw many people that voted for Trump. And probably that's how other people who, when they saw me, that's probably how they saw me as well, that they would think that I'm just voting for Trump, or I voted for Trump, even though I'm not a fan of Trump. I voted for Trump. I mean, when you get the options that you have, it's for me personally, it was an obvious decision. But it is good to see the left realizing the mistakes that they made, and because many people on the left that suffered from Trump derangement syndrome, because you can see the reaction that they have as soon as somebody mentions Trump. You see, it's kind of like, it feels like what they have against Trump is personal, and you might despise a candidate, you might despise a candidate, but if you have such a strong feeling for or against, I think you're kind of losing your shit. It's similar to the same way some MAGA people think that everything that Trump does is a master plan for the chess and all that nonsense. It is the same way to think that Trump didn't do anything good on his presidency. It is just, you're being way too biased on your opinions. And definitely, it is good to see this type of behavior from Cenk, and probably having a better debate, rather just calling each other's name, because that doesn't do anything, and people don't want to admit it. But Kamala's campaign was Donald Trump. I am better than Donald Trump, despite not having a single policy, despite being the one in office for the past 4 years. So I am sort of part of the actual problem that you guys are suffering. And I guess it didn't work out. You were preying on the fear of people on Donald Trump, and it didn't work out. Even with my friends, I was like, hey, dude, let's do a bet. If you truly believe that Donald Trump is a racist, let's bet $1,000. $1,000 is enough money that you don't want to lose, but if you really believe it, you will bet it. Of course, it wasn't going to bet it, and the same way I try to get myself out there. I try to make predictions and you gotta try to put your point out there to see if it actually matches with what you think. Because sometimes you're biased and sometimes you're going to be wrong, and that's part of the course. But if you're only seeing one particular side of the story, you're never going to see the full picture. And I think that's what is bringing Anna and other people like that they're able to see past the mistakes of Donald Trump, or past all the wrong things that Donald Trump has done, and understand that sometimes people also want to just give a middle finger to the media. To the media that pretty much is just pandering or nonstop for the Democratic Party, like if they're a sponsored news media. But I will leave this part there. I'll show you with the next clip, which is also very interesting.
You said 5 days before the election, you posted this, I think, to X, I don't support Trump. I also don't think it's helpful to call him a fascist or a Nazi. Those words actually mean something beyond not liking a candidate. I mean, I completely agree with you. And I respected you for saying that. Because actually the over-demonization of Trump, all it did was help him and damage the left anyway. I mean, it was an act of self-harm, because most reasonable-minded people went, well, hang on, Hitler killed 12 million people. What are you talking about? And if he was such a terrible fascist, why didn't he behave like a fascist for 4 years when he had the chance? And the truth is he didn't. January 6th was awful, and I wrote that at the time and said it at the time. But other than that, where you could construct an argument for this was the kind of thing you would see in a sort of a banana republic, there's nothing about Trump's first term which screamed fascism to me. And I felt that persistent attack and he's the new Hitler was just ludicrous.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's insulting for the Jewish community that, of course, was victimized by Hitler. It kind of downplays or minimizes the severity and the brutality of Hitler and what he carried out. But, I think that just to play devil's advocate, those who kind of use phrases or words like fascist in order to describe Donald Trump, they're not using it in an academic sense. They're using it in regard to some of the, authoritarian tendencies that we heard about regarding Donald Trump in his first term. And, you can argue, well, there's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of comments from disgruntled former administration officials who claim that Trump said these things behind closed doors. If you want to make that argument, that's fine. But even if, let's give those individuals the benefit of the doubt and just assume that Trump did, in fact, say those things during closed-door meetings, it still doesn't rise to the actual definition of a fascist, right? I mean, where are the brown shirts? Where is the militarized citizenry that's going to carry out, Trump's dirty deeds? It's a type of hyperbole that I don't think Democrats, and I'm not talking about the voters, I'm talking about Democrats in positions of power, genuinely believed. I think what they did is use tactics of fear and division in order to accumulate votes and support in lieu of having an actual imagination of what this country could be if they implement policies that make the lives of ordinary Americans better. The Democrats have made a deal with the devil, and the devil is their corporate donors. And since their corporate donors want very specific things for the donations that they're providing to these politicians, and usually that's policy that does not bode well for American workers, what Democrats tend to do is lean into tactics of fear or they talk about culture war issues, right? They lean into the culture war. And every election cycle, they get more and more maximalist with what they claim they want to carry out on these culture war topics. And they've gone too far. And I think Americans have kind of fought back against them.
So the point that I was trying to refer earlier, it was not about Trump necessarily being a racist. It was about the dictator behavior, or that Trump was going to be a fascist or a dictator, which Anna definitely references in this part. You might not like someone, but you also have to see how they behave. Yes, Donald Trump does things that I would say is very easy not to like him because of the way he acts, the things that he says, and many people feel they feel disgusted by it. And I can understand to a certain extent, but the reaction that people have as if they know him personally. Like I asked a friend of mine, I was like, dude, you don't know the guy. You're acting like this guy slept with your wife. Relax. Just say that you don't like him. And the other point that I was mentioning was about, I think Trump is going to be a dictator and he's going to stay in office in 2028. And I was like, dude, how long have you been following politics? Do you truly believe? Most of the things that the media has said about Trump has not occurred. That's the reason I just realized I was being fooled. And that is the issue that many people are not seeing. They're using what triggers you to manipulate you in a certain way. Fear has been used through generations to manipulate people to do certain things or behave in a certain way. And the purpose of this channel is not for you to vote for Trump or for both whoever you want. It's to realize that sometimes they're going to be praying to the things that you're afraid of. That way you vote for them. And which is exactly the strategy that Democratic Party had. And I mentioned to a friend, I was like, dude, nobody is going to first vote for Trump in 28. Two, he's unable to be on the ballot in the first place. Unless you think we're going to have a civil war in 2028, which I don't think so. I was like, dude, let's make a bet. Let's make a bet of $1,000 on Donald Trump on 2028. He's going to leave office and he's not going to be in the ballot for 2028. And he's like, I was like, dude, you're just repeating what you're hearing and you're not really reasoning. Yes, did Donald Trump handle the January 6th correctly? I don't think so. I think there's many things that he could have done better. But going from that to saying that he's going to be a dictator, the guy is going to be 84 years old in 2028 or 85. That guy is gone after 2028. And I'm hoping to see more this hot nonsense about Hitler. Actually read a book and look what Hitler did. No one in the US closely relates to Hitler. It's just, at least on the American history, yes, there was other bad things that happened in the past, but Hitler, guys, look it up. This guy was next level piece of shit. Same as Stalin, in a different way, different wing, but they're both as bad. And calling people names like that to fear monger, it is not a way to have a good debate unless you're gonna actually bring the facts. You can say, hey, I don't like the guy because of this and that, but then you're believing your own nonsense. It doesn't help anyone, and it just creates more division, which is the one thing that we just don't need. And one last point that people are not noticing, there's have been a lot of rejection internationally from the whole weak border policy. That's why France is having issues right now that they're having to agree with the right wing of France. Same is happening with Germany because the left they thought they could just get away and keep getting elected, and it doesn't work like that way. People realize what works and what doesn't, the issues with inflation, the issue with immigration, and they just say, I'm sorry, we want something else. We want the people that we vote to represent us to represent the people in that country, not somebody else that's coming in. And I think that's a perfectly fair ask. I don't expect the president, the chancellor in Germany to represent the interests of the United States. No, he has to represent his people the same as we should do here. And I will leave it at that.